a city that proves every single day that Black lives do, in fact, matter here. So with that, thank you all again for having me today.
Thank you, Councilmember Wansley Wallaber. Next is Councilmember Elliot Payne.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all again. My name is Elliot Lumumba Payne. That's my full name. And I was named Elliot Lumumba Payne by my father, who was in fact a Black Panther. And he was inspired by the work of Patrice Lumumba, a liberation fighter that was assassinated by the CIA, by our government. And it just, you know, I don't know where you all found yourselves on the morning of May 26th, 2020. I found myself collapsed in my backyard crying. And I called my dad to ask him for advice. And he told me, you can't take this personally and you have to organize. And, you know, I was working on Brian's team when I woke up to the news of George Floyd's murder. And I wanted to run away from the city. I didn't want to have anything to do with this institution. But then I realized that I needed to make this institution better. And I just reflected on the fact that being on Brian's team was the first time in my professional life that I felt accepted and included. And that extended to being a participant on MBEN. And I just realized that I don't need to run away from this institution. I need to run towards it, and we need to change it. And so I'm just really grateful to be here now as an elected official doing this work so that we can make that Black history together. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Payne. Next is our Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be here with all of you on Black History Month. I understand that we are running a bit behind time, and so I've been told, and I understand that one of the big parts of this month, and it should be every single month, is understanding when we should step up, but also when I, as a white man, should step back. So in this case, since we're a little bit behind, I just want to tell you all how much I appreciate your leadership, how honored I am to work with you as Black leaders in our city, and I appreciate it. And so I will pass it on to the next person. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Fry. Next, we have Hennepin County's 4th District Commissioner, Angela Conley.
Oh my gosh, I feel so abundantly Black right now. I don't know if y'all can see my reactions to all of you just listening to you. It's blowing my mind. I'm Black and I'm proud. And this button says I am Black history. So for some of you that I may not know, I'm Angela Conley. 4 years ago this month, I became the first Black commissioner in Hennepin County's 166-year history. I became the second Black commissioner only in the state of Minnesota, following the footsteps of our beloved Commissioner Tony Carter on the other side of the river. I came into this work very, very unapologetically. Some of the very, very unapologetically Black things that I have done since I have been in this role was to create Hennepin County's first ever Race Equity Advisory Council. It's something that I saw the leadership at the city of Minneapolis do through our president, President Andrea Jenkins, and thought that the county also needed to be hearing from voices that were not 7 white people making decisions, but a group of people who really have dedicated their lives and their careers to anti-racism, not just diversity, equity, and inclusion. Included in that, we have to think through an anti-racist framework. So I co-authored Hennepin County's Racism Declaration, which said in the entirety of Hennepin County, the largest county in the state holding 1.3 million, right here, racism is a public health crisis. I authored a resolution for the county to recognize Juneteenth as an employee paid holiday. I authored a resolution to infuse $10 million of ARP dollars into Black and Indigenous maternal health efforts. I do not believe, as Councilmember Ellison mentioned, in representation without work. We got to come into these roles and we got to put in work. And sometimes it takes 166 years to be able to do that. But when we get to do it, we got to do it big. One really interesting thing before I stop speaking here and pass it on to the next person is that I am honored to represent the 4th District of Hennepin County. And as such, I have constituents in eight of the 13 council wards. The 4th District is really, really big. But it's my honor to be able to have really good relationships with you all. I'm excited about this history-making council that we have this year, and I'll be even more excited to get to work with each and every one of you. So happy Black History Month. It's good to be Black together again.
Thank you, Commissioner Conley. Next, we welcome Honorary Consul of South Africa in Minnesota and former Hennepin County District Court Judge, Lejeune Lane.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and it's really great to be here and to have so many brilliant people gathered together to begin our Black History Month observance. I'd like to say good morning to Council President Jenkins, Mayor Fry, members of the City Council, and the Hennepin County and Minneapolis Black Employee Network. As we say in diplomatic circles, all protocols observed. The reflection, Chief Tyner challenged us to make each day a reflection. So the reflection I'd like to offer today for Black History Month is on this day in 1860, members of a Black family in the village of St. Anthony across the river from Minneapolis were making preparations for the weekly church service for St. James AME Church. The early Black settlers formed a home church and later established a church building and continuously have been operating in the city of Minneapolis since 1860. The church has moved 3 times and is now at 3600 Snelling Avenue in South Minneapolis. And it is the oldest Black church in Minnesota. So hats off to St. James AME. Council President Jenkins has led the efforts for the Truth and Reconciliation Work Group. I have served as a member on that work group to explore the creation of a formal truth and reconciliation process within the city of Minneapolis. Due to the limitations of time, I want you to read the published report that our committee made, and it is focused on Black American descendants of slavery and the members of the American Indian and Indigenous communities. This is a first to deal with the most unrepresented population in our city. And that goes from the origin of Minneapolis to the present, looking at how we describe the origins of the city of Minneapolis. If you punch a button and look at what the city council says about how Minneapolis got started, all you'll see is Franklin Steele. You won't hear about any of the early Black settlers. You won't hear about the ownership of the land for Native American people. So there's many challenges right from the beginning to be able to correct the historical record. And that is all on your plates. We've finished our part and we've handed it over to you all now for action. The second thing I wanted to briefly talk about is that the city of Minneapolis, through the Minneapolis Department of Planning and Economic Development, hired my firm for a citywide community engagement for a Minneapolis African American historical and cultural context study. The city points of contact after this meeting today for you are Andrea Burke and Robert Skalicki. There will be a link that will be provided by Council President Jenkins, so you can link and make actual comments and suggestions for historical sites, persons, and places in Minneapolis that should be collected in this cataloging, first ever, of important Black cultural sites, people, and events. This work is funded by a grant from the African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund of the National Trust for Historic Preservation with support from the Andrew Mellon Foundation. We want to make sure that each of you who are newly elected and learning about this project have the opportunity to give direct input on sites that should be preserved and people that should be uplifted. And I want to close by thanking the City Council for the recognition of the importance of Fire Station number 24 at 4501 Hiawatha Avenue that was saved from demolition, uplifted by the community, and finally yesterday by City Council made a national, at least a local historic landmark. And I want you to remember that those African-American firefighters who served not only had to fight the fires, but they had to whisper to the horses that they had to take care of to make sure those horses stayed healthy and got them in the Minnesota summers and winters to those fires. So thank you all for the opportunity to appear today.
Thank you, Judge Lane. Finally, last but not least, please join me in welcoming our Council President, Andrea Jenkins.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm pretty much like Commissioner Conley, and I just feel blackety, blackety, black, black, black right now. And I'm deeply honored. I'm gonna try to stay brief and just end us with a poem, lift up a little Black history in that the title of this poem, We Will Heal, after Nikki Giovanni, who wrote a poem called We Will Prevail. After the mass shooting at Virginia Tech University, one of the first mass shootings that, captured the national attention, though we as Black people know that there have been mass murders of Black people since the beginning of the history of this country. But we will leave that to another discussion. I also just want to acknowledge Mr. Brian Smith's comment that we are not making Black history, we are Black history. We are Minneapolis. We are George Floyd Square. We are still grieving. We are constantly re-traumatized. Can you say Dante right? We will continue to grieve as we build. We will not forget. We are nurturing our hearts. We are George Floyd Square. We are Minneapolis. We are strong enough to shed tears. We are brave enough to change the world and tender enough to spread love. It's the South Side way. We do not understand this tragedy, or do we? We are Minneapolis. We know we did nothing to deserve this tragedy. Or did we? Neither did the 9 parishioners of Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston, South Carolina. Neither did the Black family still living on plantations in places like Warren County, Mississippi. Neither did the mothers of the movement, Valerie Castile, Gwen Carr, Sabrina Fulton, Maria Hamilton, Lucy Macbeth, Leslie McSpaden, or Geneva Reedville. And now we add Katie Bryant and Wanda Cooper Jones to the list. At least there was some accountability for the murder of their sons, Dante and Ahmed. No one deserves a tragedy. We are George Floyd Square. We are Minneapolis. We are Black Visions Collective, all in for Minneapolis, yes for Minneapolis, neighbors for more neighbors, justice for Jamar and Justine, standing up for racial justice, and humanize my hoodie, sprinkled with a little Black excellence. We will reimagine, reconcile, and repair the harms of the past. We are stronger than we know, and yet we know we got a lot of work to do. We are skeptical and optimistic, exuberant and pragmatic. We will continue to invest in the future through the fear, the fury, through the joy and pain. We are Minneapolis. We are George Floyd Square. We will heal. We will heal. We will heal. We are George Floyd Square. We are Minneapolis. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Council President Jenkins, and a big thank you to all our speakers for the inspirational words. And I also want to thank all of you for attending this event today. We're a few minutes over, so I also want to wrap it up by applauding the cross-collaborative effort between the city and county. And I want to thank the efforts of the planning teams from the city's Minneapolis Black Employee Network and Hennepin County's People of Color and African American Employee Resource Groups. If you need more information about these resource groups, the information has been posted to the chat. And also in the chat is a full listing of the February events, and we encourage you and welcome you to attend them. They're all going to be virtual from noon to from around 11 to noon every Thursday in February. So join us in these events. And if you have any questions or have any comments, please put them in the chat and somebody is going to get in touch with you. And with that, I wish you all a happy Black History Month. Black together again.
Good stuff. Take care, everybody.
Be well, beautiful people.